All right, guys, well, I never thought I would be saying this, but with more than 100 electric vehicles now to choose from here in the US market, it's getting quite confusing on which vehicles to choose from. In fact, they're actually starting to become more mainstream. And if there's one automaker that's really hit the go button on electrification, it's General Motors as a whole. It just seems like every vehicle that they're launching these days has something to do with electrification. Whether it's the all-new Chevy Blazer EV-SS with a 0 to 60 in 3.4 seconds. By the way, if you haven't watched that video, it's a good one. Or this right here, which is the all-new 2025 Cadillac Optiq. This is their entry-level Cadillac version. It's the smallest of the electric vehicles they make. And for this new year and this new model, we're gonna give you all the things we love about this vehicle. We're also gonna give you some things that we think the engineering team can improve on. All right, you guys ready to check this out right here? All right, you're watching Chasing Horsepower. All right, so starting with the exterior design of the Optiq, we're gonna spend a few minutes up here on the front of the vehicle, and I'm gonna lean down, kind of share with you guys some things that I'm noticing immediately about this. So first and foremost for the new Optiq, it kind of is a design cue that carries over among all EVs, but Cadillac specifically, in regards to this front grille, and you can see it illuminate up. The key fob is proximity based, so when you get close to the vehicle, it's gonna light up these really cool LEDs, but one thing about electric vehicles is you don't need a traditional slotted grille because you don't need to pull air in to cool an engine because the engine isn't behind the grille. But what they've done is they've really given you a unique look, and this is very symbolic or representative of Cadillac. With this kind of flowing front grille, you've got that Cadillac logo right here, which also illuminates. And then as you make your way down, you've got your radar detection and your sensors on the front of this with a camera right here. It's really cool to point out this camera. All of these things integrate together as far as the smart automotive technology packaging that comes with this vehicle. And that's really important because we're going to be talking about what makes Super Cruise on this better than any other vehicle in the category. So you got your radars and sensors, and then as you kind of make your way over to the lighting on this, you've got this really cool horizontal LED light that's just very thin in streams. And then, you know, you hear people call them different things. You got the ice cube lights here on the front, kind of flows up over the side of the front quarter panel, and just gives it a unique look. And then the engineering team just went, you know, pretty aggressive with their engineering design. So if you kind of focus on this whole area, man, it looks like a Cadillac Escalade, especially with these vertical lights, but it's on a small entry-level package, which I think is cool. As we pivot around and we start looking at the side of the vehicle, you know, they're running Continentals and they're running 21-inch wheels on this. I mean, that is something that really sets the vehicle apart. We're talking about entry-level vehicle. That means price point as well. So 21 inches is a big, big deal for a wheel. If we kind of come down the side, we start thinking a little bit more about design as well. You know, having this plastic trim piece right here that's black, what's great about that is it really ties in the wheel to the side of the vehicle, but most importantly, kind of hides some of the dirt, which I like as well. Cadillac logo here on the side, and look at the same design theme carry its way all the way down with a little tiny chrome trim piece fit right there on the side. We'll pause right here at the door. So look at the door handle. The door handle is opposing, which is something I've never really seen in a car before. So you got that opposing door handle right there. You shut the door, it's just kind of a different look. We're so used to pulling a door like this or grabbing a handle and pulling it out. I kind of dig it. It's a little something different, right? And then that same black theme carries up over the top with the same trim marrying the bottom to the top together. And then I've talked a lot about this, how a lot of companies that are making SUVs, they're really raking from the C-pillar all the way down to the D or the rear of the vehicle. Look at how it just kind of flows effortlessly down the side. And then the same grille theme from the front of the vehicle is right here on the side. Again, engineering and design team tying things in. I'm also going to mention this now, that when we talk about performance and we talk about what you get with the Cadillac Optiq, you only get it offered in all-wheel drive. No rear-wheel drive, no front-wheel drive. It's only going to be offered in all-wheel drive. And before I move around to the back, let's just talk about this as well. You got a lot of news happening with Cadillac, right? You got the entry-level Optiq Then you've got the Vistic, which is coming out here soon. It's a 3-row SUV. You've got the Lyriq, which is one of my favorite electric vehicles on the market, very futuristic, somewhat wagon-esque, but just a really cool design. And then you've got the mothership, right? The big one, which will be the Cadillac IQ. And they've got a long wheelbase version that'll be coming out on that as well, which will be one of the biggest full-size luxury SUVs in the market. All right, we pivot around to the rear on this. You got kind of the faux spoiler look up here on top. Same vertical lights coming down on the side, these LEDs. And then you kind of come down to Cadillac logo. This obviously is going to be your button as well for opening up the rear lift gate. Optiq logo here coming across the back. 500 E4, so this has got the larger battery capacity on it. You're north of 300 miles of range. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we're on the inside. And then pushing the button will open up this rear hatch. Of course, you got your camera mounted up on top. And then we look on the inside. We're going to talk about cargo capacity a little bit more in that second row seating. Because the difference in length between the Cadillac Optiq and the Cadillac Lyriq is crazy. It's only 6 inches. So you've got a very small distance between the two vehicles in overall length. But what makes it kind of crazy is the fact that the Lyriq feels and seems like it has a lot more room on the inside, which will lead me to that second row seating when we get to it in a minute. All right, as we make our way down here, one thing unique about testing electric vehicles is why not pull up to a charger and do your review, because that's what we're doing right now. We just got done charging this, and we are going to be able to hit the road with about 80 miles of range on it. So that's unique. Kind of a cool new charger, by the way. If you haven't heard of Blueberry and iCharging, we're able to charge this thing up to 100% because, well, it's fully dedicated to the car. But I think it only takes us 20 or 30 minutes to like fully go from 0 back up to a good charging capacity. All right, so here's your charging. Speaking of charging capacity, level 2 charging, which is fantastic. It didn't want to go. I didn't push anything. So you got level 2 charging right here. Something that's unique about the charging system on this is that you really can only charge up to 150 kilowatts. It's not meant to be one of the high capacity charging systems that you would see like in a Lucid or one of the higher end vehicles. So charging this, you kind of have to have a little bit different concept. If you want to fast charge it, you're going to need to go to a fast charger that is at least up to 350 kilowatts to really pull this thing and get it moving fast. Simple push button right here closes it. Cadillac button right here opens it right back up. So we'll go ahead and close it. All right, you guys ready to jump inside? Let's go. On the interior, before we even talk about the car, we're going to talk about the key fob. I never talk about the key fob. I'm not going to talk about the design because, well, it kind of looks like a Kia key fob, but putting that aside, forget about it. That's not what's relevant. What is relevant is how this key fob interacts with this vehicle. So in most instances, right, you've got your unlock and lock. This is all proximity based. So when I walk up to the vehicle, it automatically unlocks for me, and it actually starts the car for me. So there's no start button in here. There's no, when you get inside the vehicle, the screen automatically illuminates. And if I want to turn the car off, there's 2 ways to turn the car off. One, just get out and exit. Put it in park, walk away, hit the lock button, car turns off, locks itself. The other is actually right here on the screen. There is an off button up here, and you just hit vehicle off, and the vehicle's going to turn off. There, I'll give you one more shot at it. I'm not going to turn it off right now because, frankly, it is a hot day, and I want to keep the air conditioning on me because it's hot. All right, so let's have a little fun and talk about what's going on the interior in here. So one of the themes with Cadillac right now, and not just Cadillac, but General Motors, is this big ULED screen, right? You're seeing this everywhere. And it's awesome, right? I love how you're able to take kind of the concept of one big paint, sheet of glass, and just give that to the customer as opposed to breaking this up. The Mercedes E-Performance, so the AMG S63, they were divided. Really cool vehicle, but they were divided. I love how this comes together. In fact, Lincoln even has it now in a couple of their vehicles, including the new Navigator. It runs from the left side all the way to the right side, and it's just a cool setup. So as we look at the screen, we're going to focus on that for a minute before we talk about the seats and the overall feeling on the inside. We're going tech first because this is a tech vehicle. So let's start with your infotainment system up here. This is going to be my first recommendation to the engineering team, and it's a bit of a frustration for anybody that happens to have one of these. This is my iPhone, and my iPhone does not connect to this infotainment system, nor does your Android, and that is because Cadillac wants you to start using Google Assistant. So that is what they want you to use in this vehicle, and to force you to use it, you cannot use your iPhone or your Android device. So you have to use Google Assistant. There's also an app that goes with it, and you can use that app and use that to integrate some of your smartphone features into the system. But again, that's a little bit of a miss for me because I'm a big iPhone user and I connect them to every single vehicle. Putting that aside, the layout is fantastic. On the center screen, you've got, you know, all of your gauge cluster, everything that you want up there. You've got your Sirius XM, your speedometer, your time, your temperature, and then you got your full trip over here on the side. Ahead of me that you can't see, I've got my heads-up display as well. A massive dashboard. I mean, this dashboard, I feel like I could eat lunch up on this thing. I could put my computer up here and actually work from it because it's so big. As you make your way to the center part of the vehicle, let's talk about a little bit of the design, the fit and finish. This material over here, so first backing up, learning about electric vehicles, they gotta be light, right? So a lot of automakers are moving to composites, you know, lightweight plastics, lightweight aluminum, and in this case, lightweight fabric as opposed to heavier leather. So when you look at this lightweight fabric, does it give you the embodiment of a Cadillac? Well, I could probably make the argument to both. Modern technology, integrating it into a high-end luxury vehicle like this. I'd prefer to see leather, but it gives you that kind of cool futuristic look. And then over here on this panel, we're going to talk just a little bit about what some of these features are. So of course, you got full control of your seat, you know, kind of controls everything with that. You've got massaging seats. It's a Cadillac. You'd expect to have massaging seats in your vehicle. So you have that as well. And then over here, you got ventilation, you got heated, cooling, etc., and then your presets for your seats. Overall, very cool. I love, one of my favorite features is the handle to exit the vehicle. It's right here. It's this cool little chrome piece. You just kind of open it up right there. I just like how it's seamlessly integrated into the side right there. Cool pocket down below, and then you've kind of got that leathery feel right in here, which is where your armrest is going to go. A lot of cars don't have a good armrest. I think this armrest really feels fantastic. Your steering wheel is specifically designed around Super Cruise. Before we talk about that, we're going to talk about some of the features on here. Heated steering wheel, and then you've got your various ADAS features or your autonomous driving features for the vehicle. So, Super Cruise, let's talk about it. Standard on the Optiq. So, it's not an option like it is on the Lyriq. So with Cadillac Lyriq, it's an option. Not with this. It's going to come standard. So standard all-wheel drive, check that box. Heck yes. Super Cruise, check that box. By the way, what I was getting at about Super Cruise is there are a lot of automakers competing for level 2 autonomy. Ain't nobody as good as Super Cruise in the market. Sorry, Blue Cruise. Sorry, Mercedes-Benz with your technology. Sorry, Tesla. Super Cruise, the furthest distance I went was 32 miles without putting my hands or feet, hands on the wheel and feet on the brake or accelerator. I'm not kidding. 32 miles, and I ate a sandwich. And that's because it's the only manufacturer that's really using retinal recognition, right? So right here you've got your... and it's actually gotten smaller. Look at that. This used to be a lot bigger. But this is where they're managing the retinal display, and then you've got this LED light that'll pop up in here. So it's all just watching your eyes. If it's seeing that you're starting to fade away, it's going to alert you. So as long as you're focused ahead and it can tell that your eyes are up, it's one of the most intuitive systems in the market. All right, let me fast forward through some of all this other stuff. Your ventilation is kind of new this year. It's different. So your ventilation is kind of hidden down in here. I think I kind of dig that. Cool little display right here, kind of like a piano key. I think that's kind of unique as well. And then they've gone analog, right? Some buttons down here that are just like, bam, look at the button. That's kind of cool. Another hint to the engineering team, I'm just gonna say it, you might not agree. I love how far you've gone with technology in this. But when I'm thinking about the glove box, I just want to get in. I want to get in, get out, whatever's in my glove box. I don't want to have to actually activate and open the glove box from the screen, which is what I have to do. So right here on the screen, you got this little unique circular button right here. Boom. What does that do? It drops the glove box. I get it. It's cool. But I don't want to have to explain to my passenger or just figure out that I've got to come. Just make it easy and put the buttons down there. You got 2 cup holders right here. I would say for me, this is a little bit of a miss. I know what they were trying to do, but you've got this kind of faux fabric-y look on this side, and then you've got this carbon fiber-y look in the middle. They kind of just don't really flow well together. I do think red leather would look pretty awesome on the inside of this as well. And then you got your Cadillac jewel right here, your bespoke look that allows you to control everything up here on the screen. So if I want to open up that glove box again, I press down and it opens up all from my Cadillac controller right here, which I do love. I think this setup is pretty unique. And I do like the idea that Cadillac went the extra mile by bedazzling the side, kind of like True Religion jeans. They bedazzled the side of this turn knob right here. And then last but not least is volume. I find volume to be something that frustrates me in a lot of cars. Their volume control, I love. Just easy. Oh, pause music. Boom. Push the button down, pause music, turn music back on. I mean, that is absolutely awesome what they're doing with audio on the inside of this vehicle. That's something very hard to achieve. We'll move up to the top right here, kind of show you guys a couple different things. Comes with OnStar. All General Motors vehicles come with OnStar. And then you've got, and I'll turn it towards you, boom. You've got the digital rear view mirror and you've got the normal digital rear view mirror. Can we see Nick? Is Nick in there? We want to see Nick. There he is, it's Nick. All right, so that gives you some stuff there. And then we will close it out with a full sheet of glass up on top. And guess what? The full sheet of glass, it does not open up. Meaning letting air in. It's just a full moonroof sheet of glass, which I really dig. Seats, double stitched right here. Just a very cool look. Side bolsters, decent. Seats are kind of comfortable, but I like extenders on mine. Very similar to the ones in the Lyriq as well. So that kind of rounds out the front of the vehicle. Time to jump in the second row. Let's go. All right, so as we love to do with every vehicle test, we do it different, I think, than any other journalist out there. We leave the seat where I drive and then I get behind it so you can see what it would be like if I was driving and somebody of the same height of me was in the second row. So if I shut this door, things get a bit tight quickly and I can feel my hair rubbing against the ceiling. Now, the biggest difference between the Optiq and the Lyriq is this second row seating. If you watch my video on the Lyriq, holy smokes, man. There's a reason that I say, man, I love the Cadillac Lyriq. I love the design, I love the look, I love the wheelbase, I love the second row seating. I just love that vehicle. And if I was in the market for an electric vehicle right now, the Lyriq would be on my list. Imagine if they came out with a Cadillac Lyriq SS. Actually, it'd be a Cadillac Lyriq, what do they call that, red? What do they call that, Nick?
V.
V. That's right. Cadillac Lyriq Type V. Hey, General Motors, if you were listening right now, we need a V spec, baby. We need the V because that thing will be like the SS. It'll be super fast. Okay, sorry. Way off track. I love the design of the seat, though, like this backside of the seat. It's super aggressive, bold, futuristic. It just looks good to me. I just don't have a lot of room back here. You got your AKG speaker pumping right here. You got a grab handle up on top, your own lighting. And then I do like the ability with these speakers right here. I bet you don't know what these are for. This is so when people are talking, they can hear you out of these as well. And that's kind of cool. I think that they've done a great job on the design of this vehicle. It just could use a little bit more space. Center console right here. Yeah, Nick's like, stay on it, I want to show it. It's just simple, right? There's nothing special about it. And then if I slide over, actually before I slide over, heated seats, something you should know. Heated seats, USB-C charging, and then you got a traditional outlet right here. 2 vents on the side, important to have those, but I don't see vents anywhere else. That could be a little bit of a concern on a hot summer day, especially here in Atlanta. Then we slide over to the other side. Let's just see. Easy to slide across. All right, so now I got a little bit more room, and the indentation does make sense. Although if it does go up, like, I'm not gonna sit like this, I'm too tall. But that kind of gives you a good feel. I do like the moonroof right here. Just the ability to see out of the top of this, I think, is fantastic. All right, spring-loaded hood. I love that. Now, I want to point this out for a minute. A lot of automakers have gone with the frunk, and I kind of like how Cadillac actually put all of its powertrain systems, computer systems right here under the hood. They do it for a couple different reasons. One, it frees up cargo capacity and space from the driver, passenger, so cockpit area, all the way to the rear vehicle, right? So imagine if you had to tuck this down below and in the back of the vehicle, let's just say under that cargo area, you're gonna eat up a lot of space, which is why you have the front, you move it to the front. But in the case of the Optiq, really important for them to make sure that you have that standard traditional feel that you expect in a vehicle. So overall, not a lot to talk about, a lot of wires, but kind of makes me feel like I got an engine. All right, so why is the camera going back and forth? I think it's really important to talk about this before we talk about the driving experience. And that is my favorite feature on cars today is called one pedal. I don't ever use the brake. Watch, you ready? He's gonna go flying. I love one pedal. In fact, I could create a whole video series just on one pedal because I think it's pretty cool. All right, enough of the fun and shenanigans. Let's talk about what makes this vehicle amazing. I'm gonna turn off one pedal because we wanna be able to stabilize that camera and not throw Nick from one side of the car to the other. All right, so here we go. So let's just talk about performance-wise what we have with this vehicle. So we'll start with, you have 310 horsepower with 354 pounds-feet of torque. You have all-wheel drive with a significant portion of the distribution of power between the front and the rear. So I shouldn't have said significant. You just have weight, you have a distribution of power between the front and the rear of the vehicle. And that gives you a pretty well-balanced driving experience. One thing I have noticed with this is that I have to imagine that to help keep costs down, they cut a few corners. And I think one of those might be the suspension. The suspension in this, it just feels slightly rough to me. And as I start to kind of bob back and forth, I can feel that there's a little bit of kind of off balance, floaty weight distribution up on top. Now, the 0 to 60 in this is sub 6 seconds. And if you compare it to the Blazer EV SS, which absolutely surprised, shocked, flabbergasted me, that thing has a 0 to 60 at 3.4 seconds. But that's not why you are buying this. You're not buying the Cadillac Optiq because you want blazing speed. But with that said, it is electric, which means you do have blazing speed. So to highlight that, I'm going to make a quick U-turn here, and I'm going to give you a progressive hammer down. So what I mean, I'm not going to slam it and throw Nick back into the seat. I'm just going to do a progressive slide up this hill. We're going vertical, we're hitting the power, and we're going to see what it does. So check this out. I mean, I need nothing more than this. I'm pushing 60 miles an hour really quickly, like fast with this vehicle. And that is, you know, just the essence of an electric vehicle, whether it's the Cadillac Optiq or any other electric vehicle. It's just the way the powertrains are developed. Now, let's talk about range. So you have two different battery options with this vehicle. They all come from the Ultium, you know, and they're switching away from Ultium, but it starts with that DNA, right? Spring Hill, Tennessee, one of the Ultium plants. The Lyric is made there. You know, this is an American vehicle. You know, you've got that high capacity range that is sitting, for all fairness, it's sitting right around 300 miles of range. And that's important, right? Like if you're gonna go buy an electric vehicle with JD Powers, you know, saying that the average daily commute is somewhere around 40 miles for the average consumer, like average owner, right? You got a lot of range with this vehicle. I mean, shoot, if you are 10 to 15 minutes from your home, you're only going to charge this vehicle maybe once a week unless you're running a whole ton of errands every day. So I think that's a value proposition with this vehicle. I also, in America, we think everything needs to be big. Well, this isn't massive. I also kind of like that as well. So given my profession and the fact that I'm on the road all the time and I'm jumping from meeting to meeting, this is a great option for me. I still like the Cadillac Lyriq more. I like the increase in luxury with that vehicle. But just, again, feel this. That's pretty awesome, right? No fake noises, just the cool electric sound. Might be pumped a little bit into the speakers. And then it tells you up on the screen how many kilowatts I'm using when I'm driving. So, you know, I take my foot off the gas, I'm at 6, 7, 8 kilowatts. I slam the gas down, I go up to 100 kilowatts. The range on this is pretty fantastic, in my opinion. And I think that's just, again, a testament to how automakers are really honing in on what consumers want if they're going to buy an EV in the marketplace. I'm going to pull over here and talk a little bit more about this. So if we think about the driving experience of a Cadillac Optiq, we're not really buying this vehicle because we want a drag race. We're buying this vehicle because we want a bit of luxury and a bit of performance, and you get both of those things. And then you add in the range with the 310 horsepower and the 354 pounds-feet of torque. All around, this is a great handling and great performing vehicle. I would upgrade the suspension a little bit more. I love the 21-inch wheels on this thing. I think the weight distribution is relatively smooth. So kind of when you add it all together, I think you kind of have the complete package, right? For what you want if this is a vehicle that you're looking for in this category. And we're back. All right, so we're back actually where we started, and that is at the charging unit. And I was thinking about this while I was out driving this, and I get it. Look, I know there are going to be people in the comments below that talk about electrification and I'm on this side of the fence or you're on that side of the fence. But I want to break it down for you because I've spent a lot of time in both vehicles, right? Internal combustion engine and electric vehicles. And before we close it out on this, this is just what I want to say. It's a general statement, is that I understand range anxiety. Automobiles are getting better with regards to range anxiety. But what I can tell you is that imagine pulling into your garage, plugging into the wall, and when you leave every day, you got a full tank, right? So imagine pulling into your gas vehicle and you wake up in the morning and you leave, you got a full tank of gas every single day. That's pretty awesome, right? So is it still going to be a second vehicle? Well, maybe for some, but we're starting to see more integration into electric vehicles as a mainstream, right? So I think that's just something to take into consideration. We're here to power it up because we've been ripping it all over downtown Atlanta, checking out this vehicle. And it's not for everybody, but there's a great growing market for electric vehicles. All right, let's talk about the Optiq and talk about pricing. So as mentioned, it's one of the most affordable vehicles in the segment and with Cadillac. So what do I mean by that? Well, you're starting at about $55,000. The average transaction price for a new vehicle right now is about $48,000. The average transaction price for an EV is about $58,000. So when you look at the price of this at about 55 grand, options wise, you can only option up about 6 grand on this vehicle. So this one, prices tested, is about $62,000 with that starting price at $55,000. But here's the catch. This American qualifies for the federal tax rebate, which is $7,500, and you get the full tax rebate with this. I can't tell you whether the rebates will be around by the time this video hits, but what I can tell you is that as of shooting this, there's a $7,500 tax rebate that you can take advantage of that then drops that price from $62,000 right back to that starting price. So get a fully loaded one for $55,000. So not bad pricing when you think about the grand scheme of electric vehicles in the marketplace. And by the way, that skewing of the EV price being at $60-some-odd thousand, $58,000, you got to look at vehicles like the Taycan, the Lucid Air. They push that average price up. But there's so many great vehicles out there like the EV6 from Kia or the Ioniq from Hyundai. There's some great electric vehicles, Mustang Mach-E, Ford Lightning, Rivian, like they just go on and on and on. There's so many to choose from. Overall, I like this vehicle. If I was in the market for a luxury SUV, hands down for me, it'd be the Cadillac Lyric. I'm a bigger guy. It's a little bit more room, a little bit more space, and I felt like it was a little bit more upscale on the inside. But this allows you to get into the ball game, and that's really, really important. If you want to get an electric vehicle that is luxury and you are just a tried and true General Motors Cadillac loving person, then this is going to be a great gateway for you to try out an electric vehicle. The technology is fantastic. There's a lot of made in America with this vehicle. And with that 0 to 60 time, you know, not quite of the SS, the Blazer SS at 3.4, you're still sitting at sub 6 in a 0 to 60 with this vehicle with 300 plus miles of range. So that kind of gives you the breakdown. I hope you all enjoyed this video as much as I've enjoyed putting it together. I give you 2 thumbs up on the 2025 Cadillac Optiq. If you guys are not following along, make sure you are. Please hit that subscribe button below. It allows us to keep bringing these cool videos to you. All right, guys, have an awesome day.